DC versus Vampires, issue 11, James Tynion IV, Matthew Rosenberg writing with Otto Schmidt on the art. So this is the penultimate issue. You know, one of the things I've been saying for the last few is I do think the back half of this book's been a little weaker than the first half, just because it kind of feels like they set up these 3 different missions for groups of characters to do, and we've just been doing them for what feels like 4 issues at this point.
Yeah, it feels like each issue, there's not really enough of any one of them.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe they needed to dedicate like 2/3 of an issue to one and have one as a B plot and like rotate through them instead of getting a few pages from each.
I agree. It's felt very formulaic, this back half as a result. And that said, I actually like a lot of the things that are in this issue, and that's been true of all the issues, really. It's just that none of them of this back half, whereas the first half, like, you know, this book, unless the last issue really blows me away, I don't think this book is ever going to top that issue 5 or 6 that revealed Dick Grayson was the villain. Like, that was like such a... You know, the mystery building up to that was such a good way of telling the story.
It feels like 2 different series that they're just making one.
It had like a lot of focus in the first half, though.
Yeah. Here, you know, you've got all the fighting going on. I do think there's at least a sense of culmination here, though, where all this fighting's going on in Gotham with Babs and the group in Gotham, while like they're trying to get Kara. Because the big cliffhanger of this issue is, did Kara get enough of the sun to survive the explosion and like be repowered and come back down? You know, be able to help in the big fight. You know, that's kind of and you know that works as a cliffhanger. You know.
Normally you'd say yes, obviously, but you know it's the final issue in a Elseworlds essentially.
I mean, it's all about hope, right? So I feel like if the writers really want to steal hope from us, then Supergirl doesn't make it, and Babs is literally on her own.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's more likely she is, because it's the more typical story beat to play at this point. But I mean, who knows? Yeah, like there's a lot of options. Obviously, they have to sneak on there, and you know, Jaina has to like pretend Kara's with them, but she's really just like a water puppet.
I do like that. I do like that Jaina's learning new things at the power.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. Also, Lobo did not annoy me. Usually Lobo's one of those characters that just annoys the piss out of me. Here I felt he was handled very well, because he's just like, oh, okay, you know, they pay me to keep watch on this stuff because it's just easier that way. But if you want me to look the other way, okay, right? Yeah. And then he gets there and he's like, oh yeah, they paid me more money. They're up to something. And it was just real funny with how quick that all went.
It's very Lobo.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you got Swamp Thing with Green Arrow. There's some more jokes about pissing on him. There's not really much to that plot, though. It is really just a couple pages in this one.
Yeah, I do like some of the... Yeah, the dialogue there I do like, where Green Arrow is like, you know, do we have any like fighters? And Cole is like, yeah, I mean, these are librarians and farmers. And Green Arrow does one of his, yeah, but you see, those are the people with heart. And Cole just looks at him and is like, yeah, no, like, sure, I knew you were going to say that, but like, I don't think they're going to stand a chance against vampires. Like, it was just very, you know.
And there's some fun action when the people in Gotham show up to help Babs and Co. Who, you know, the ones who are still sort of in there running around trying to help. There's a sort of fun action sequence where they're driving towards like a trap where they've got some of the UV light and a bat signal, and like Damien's having to duck behind. And there's some jokes here as well about how the people who show up in the bikes, like one's like, oh, I got the vampire, and then the one with Frankenstein's like, I got a zombie. I think that's Cass who says that. Mine's a zombie. He's like, I'm not a zombie, I'm a reanimated corpse. That's pretty zombie. Frankenstein. Yeah. I will say though, all Schmidt's art obviously is pretty good by and large. It really fits. There is one really dodgy face. It's actually just after, it's on the page where the bike's jumping the ramp at the signal trap. And it's the Give 'Em Hell Batgirl, which I don't even know who's saying that, to be honest. But the face looks really flat in a way that Schmidt's art doesn't normally look. So it's just, you know, I don't know if it's just a bit of slight rushing to keep on schedule or whatever, but it just looks really weird and flat to me. But, you know, they encounter some resistance, so the fight's going on, and the big cliffhangers. Kara, it looks like the ship's just going above the clouds, but then you see the big last page is the explosion, and it's like, was it enough? Was that few seconds of sun enough to... You know, supercharger. We'll see.
Gut instinct, like I said, is yes, because it's the obvious beat, but you never know.
Yeah, I suspect, we'll see them struggling in Gotham next issue, and then Carol come in for the big save, and but it'll be Babs and Dick one-on-one, you'd assume, in the final fight. That'll be the final beat. Yeah, which would be, possibly good.
I still just wish they were a little bit more, the writing team were a little bit more clear what the vampire rules are in this one. Just because, so if they kill Dick, do all of the other vampires die too? Do they get transformed back to
I don't think they get
humans?
transformed back, but
yeah,
I think the idea if you take out the king, then it's easy to deal with the rest of them. Maybe I think it's funny. This issue does kind of do what me and Connor were just saying at the start of this, which is not doing even amounts of each of the three stories, so that it feels like they can focus on something. This one kind of does that because it does actually diminish the Swamp Thing and Green Arrow story enough to make the other two feel like they've got a bit more to them. So this is probably the best issue out of the last 4 or 5. So
it's just too little, too late at this point in the series overall.
It's still a fun little side jaunt in the DC,
I'm still enjoying reading it. It's still always a quick read, but it's just
and it's Schmidt's art helps. It always looks pretty great.
It definitely felt more special in the first half though, and it definitely crescendoed to that reveal of Dick Grayson so well that this back half feels just alright. It's just a bit of fun in comparison. So and I think a lot of it's just down to how they've structured it with the 3 stories getting equal time roughly per issue. It just every single time it's just felt like none of them have moved enough ahead, rather than letting one really move ahead. And as we're saying, so but yeah, all right, what are we rating this one? Matt, what are you giving it?
This is a 7.5.
Connor?
I'm probably gonna go closer to a 7. I think it's still pretty good. Art's nice, but it's just a bit too inconsistent overall still.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 7 as well. I think it's good fun, but it's not as special as it was in the first half, and I think that repetition of this back half is definitely reared its head a little bit.